The plague started on a mining colony nobody important cared about. 3 workers fell sick on a Tuesday. By Friday, the entire station went dark. When the rescue teams arrived wearing full containment gear, they found 2,000 bodies and a virus that laughed at every medicine the Galactic Medical Authority possessed. Ambassador Realm watched the casualty reports climb on his data screen. His species, the Torvans, had survived 10,000 years of peace by being very good at asking others for help. Right now, nobody wanted to help. The plague spread faster than ships could jump between systems. 5 colonies infected, then 12, then 23. The Galactic Council chamber looked like a marketplace where everyone sold excuses. The Korthan delegation claimed their doctors were too valuable to risk. The Minari said their biology made them vulnerable to cross-species infections. The Trell offered thoughts and prayers, which saved exactly nobody. Realm's head tendrils drooped with exhaustion. He had been arguing for 6 straight hours. "We need action, not debate," he said for the 40th time. His translator chip made his frustration sound polite, but his body language screamed it loud enough for anyone to read. Council Chair Vorn tapped his gavel. The Heplite looked older than usual, his scales dull with stress. "Ambassador Realm, we understand the urgency, but we cannot force member species to volunteer their medical personnel for what might be a suicide mission." "Then what do you suggest? We let entire worlds die." A junior aide approached Vorn's platform and whispered something. The chair's eye membranes flickered with surprise. "The humans," he said slowly. "What about the humans?" The chamber went quiet. Humanity had joined the galactic community only 5 years ago. Most species still considered them unpredictable newcomers. They came from a world where everything evolved to kill everything else, including themselves. Their planet had 5 different words for war and 7 for plague. But they also had impressive medical technology and a strange eagerness to help anyone who asked. "Earth is far from the infected zones," someone pointed out. "By the time they arrive, millions more will be dead." Realm stood straighter. "Do we have better options? Anyone, please enlighten me." Silence answered him. "Then I move we send an immediate request to Earth for medical assistance. All in favor." The vote passed. Nobody expected much. Humans were helpful, sure, but this required resources on a massive scale. The request went out through the quantum relay network, marked urgent, practically begging. It listed the number of infected systems, the mortality rates, the failed containment efforts. It asked for medical personnel, supplies, anything Earth could spare. The response came back in 4 hours. 4 hours. Most species took 4 days to schedule a committee meeting. The message was short. "Request acknowledged, fleet dispatching immediately. Estimated arrival, 18 days. Prepare quarantine coordinates." "Fleet," Vorn read the message 3 times. "They said fleet." Realm felt his hope rising. Perhaps they have multiple hospital ships. Humans do tend to be thorough. The Council accepted Earth's offer because they had no choice. Realm transmitted the coordinates and infection data. Earth responded with detailed questions about the virus, about alien biology, about environmental factors. Their doctors worked around the clock analyzing the information. They promised they could help. 18 days felt like 18 years. The plague took 4 more colonies. Medical stations collapsed under the weight of dying patients. Governments evacuated entire planets. Realm barely slept, tracking the death counts, watching his own species begin to show symptoms. The Torvans were naturally resistant to most diseases, but this plague adapted faster than anyone could study it. On day 17, long-range sensors picked up something approaching the quarantine zone. 3 massive objects moving at combat speed. Realm rushed to the monitoring station along with a dozen other officials. The sensor technician looked confused. "Those are not medical ships," she said. "Those are warships, dreadnought class, heavy armor, weapons arrays, shield generators rated for fleet combat." "There must be a mistake," Vorn said. Check the identification codes. The technician did. Her confusion deepened. Codes confirmed. HMCS Nightingale, HMCS Mercy, and HMCS Florence, human medical command ships. Those are medical ships. Reln stared at the display. Each vessel was over 2 kilometers long, bristling with enough firepower to conquer a small planet. Why would medical ships carry that many weapons? Maybe humans sent the wrong ships, someone suggested. Or maybe, Vorn said quietly, humans have a very different idea of what medical ships should be. The 3 warships took position around the largest infected colony. Reln's communicator chimed. A human face appeared on screen, female, with short dark hair and eyes that had seen too much death, but refused to look away from it. This is Captain Anne Reeves of the HMCS Nightingale. We have arrived to render medical assistance, requesting permission to begin deployment of medical teams and establish containment protocols. Relm found his voice. Captain Reeves, your ships appear to be military vessels. We requested medical support. Captain Reeves smiled, and it was not a comforting expression. It was the smile of someone who knew exactly what they brought and why. Ambassador, these are our medical vessels. Each ship carries 5,000 medical personnel and equipment sufficient to treat 50,000 patients simultaneously. We are prepared to establish field hospitals on all infected worlds within the quarantine zone. But the weapons are necessary, Reeves interrupted gently. Ambassador, humanity learned a long time ago that those who dedicate themselves to healing must also be capable of protecting their patients. We did not come here to watch people die. We came here to save them, all of them, and we brought everything we need to do that job properly. Vorn leaned toward Relm. What have we invited into our space? Relm watched the 3 warships begin launching deployment pods toward the infected colonies. Each pod carried medical teams in armor that looked built for combat rather than care. Help, he answered. I think we invited help, but not the kind we expected. Dr. Neil Foster had treated patients in 16 different war zones before joining medical command. He knew what fear looked like on every species that had a face. The Torven medical coordinator, standing in his deployment bay, wore fear like a second skin. You cannot be serious, the Torven said, watching human medical teams gear up. Those are combat suits. Neil sealed his helmet and the environmental systems hummed to life. The suit was rated for vacuum, biological hazards, and small arms fire. He had been shot twice while treating patients in conflict zones. The second time taught him to wear better armor. These are hazmat suits. They just happen to also stop bullets. Why would medical personnel need to stop bullets? Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Neil picked up his medical kit. It weighed 40 pounds and contained everything from surgical tools to combat stimulants. Where are your critical cases? The Torven led him through the colony's makeshift hospital. Bodies lined the hallways. The living ones moaned. The dead ones just stared. Neil had seen this before, the moment when a medical system collapsed under its own weight. Too many sick, not enough hands, not enough supplies, not enough hope. He activated his comm. Foster to Nightingale, we need the full deployment package here. This facility is compromised. We will need to build from scratch. Captain Reeves' voice came back steady. Confirmed. Deploying mobile hospital units to the landing zone. You have 4 hours of construction time. 4 hours. The Torvens thought it would take 4 weeks to build a proper medical facility. They had never seen humans work. The deployment pods landed like bombs, shaking the ground. Each pod split open to reveal prefabricated modules that locked together like puzzle pieces. Human engineers directed the assembly using exoskeletons that let them lift tons. Medical staff unpacked supplies with military efficiency. Within 2 hours, a full hospital complex stood where there had been empty ground. Neil walked the Torven coordinator through the facility. This is triage. Patients get sorted by severity. Critical cases go to Surgical Wing 3, moderate cases to Wings 4 and 5, mild cases to Recovery Ward A. You have protocols for everything. We have protocols because people die when we don't. Neil pointed to the isolation chambers. Infectious patients go there. Each chamber is independently sealed with its own air supply. If the virus mutates, we can contain it instantly. The Torven looked overwhelmed. Your medical philosophy is very aggressive. It has to be. Disease is aggressive. Plague doesn't negotiate, it kills until someone stops it. Neil checked his data pad. First patient transports were arriving. Time to work. The human medical teams moved like soldiers because most of them had been soldiers. They coordinated through tactical networks. They established supply lines with military precision. They treated disease like an enemy that could be defeated through superior strategy and overwhelming force. Neil worked for 16 straight hours. His suit provided nutrients and stimulants to keep him functional. Around him, human doctors fought the plague with everything they had. They analyzed the virus structure. They tested 40 different treatment combinations. They mapped transmission vectors with mathematical precision. Got something, called out Dr. Lisa Tran from the research station. The virus targets respiratory systems specifically, but it needs a protein marker that only exists in oxygen-methane breathers. Species with pure oxygen respiration are naturally immune. Neil processed that, so humanity is immune. Completely. Our biology is incompatible with the virus. We can't catch it, can't carry it, can't spread it. That explained why humans volunteered so readily. They could walk among the infected without fear. But it also revealed something about human character. They came to save people they could never be saved from. They risked their ships, their resources, their time for species they barely knew. The Torven coordinator found Neil during a brief rest period. Your people are remarkable. The mortality rate has dropped 30% in just one day. We are barely started. Neil showed him the tactical map. Red zones indicated heavy infection. Yellow showed moderate. Green meant contained. The map was still mostly red. We need to identify patient 0, find where this started, cut it off at the source. That could take months. We have the Nightingale's computer core analyzing the epidemiological data. We will have an answer in 3 days, maybe 4. The Torven sat down heavily. My species has practiced medicine for 10,000 years. You humans have had space travel for barely 200. How are you so much better at this? Neil considered his answer carefully. We are not better. We are desperate. Humanity spent most of its history killing itself with disease. Plagues wiped out whole continents. We watched billions die before we learned how to fight back. Medicine is not something we study casually. It is something we learned through apocalypse. And the weapons on your ships. We learned another lesson too. There are always people who see suffering as opportunity. Pirates, raiders, warlords. They attack the weak and wounded. Neil's voice went cold. So we decided our medical ships would never be weak. Anyone who threatens our patients learns why that is a fatal mistake. Alarms suddenly blared through the facility. Neil's tactical display lit up with warnings. 3 unknown vessels had entered the system. Their trajectories showed clear intent. They were heading for the colony. Captain Reeves' voice came through on emergency channels. All medical personnel be advised, we have incoming hostile vessels. Raider configuration. They are ignoring hails. They think we are easy targets. A pause. They are wrong. Continue your work. We will handle this. The Torven coordinator looked terrified. Raiders, now, can your ships fight them off? Neil watched his display as the Nightingale and her sister ships powered up their weapons systems. The medical vessels transformed before alien eyes. Gun ports opened. Missile tubes loaded. Shield generators flared to full power. The ships that had arrived offering healing now revealed their other purpose. Those pirates are about to learn an important lesson about human medical philosophy, Neil said quietly. We protect our patients, always, by any means necessary. The raider fleet consisted of 3 ships that made their money from suffering. Their crews were Kryn, a species that evolved from pack hunters and never quite evolved past it. They saw the plague zone as a shopping opportunity. Desperate people paid premium prices for medicine, for transport, for hope. Their lead ship, Savage Prophet, ran active scans on the human vessels. The sensor operator whistled through his breathing slits. Those are big targets, heavy cargo capacity, probably loaded with medical supplies worth millions. Captain Gresh bared his teeth in what his species considered a smile. And they are medical ships, no fighter escort, no military support, just fat targets sitting in quarantine like gifts. He opened a channel to his small fleet. Standard raid protocol. Disable their engines, board through cargo sections, take everything valuable. Kill anyone who resists. The 3 raider ships accelerated toward the human formation. They transmitted no warnings. They expected none in return. Medical ships always surrendered. It was cheaper than fighting. Aboard the Nightingale, Captain Anne Reeves watched the raiders approach. Her tactical officer counted down the range. 60,000 kilometers, 50,000. They are charging weapons. Hail them again, Reeves ordered. Full broadcast all frequencies. Channel open. Reeves kept her voice calm and professional. Unknown vessels, you are approaching a medical quarantine zone. This area is under the protection of Human Medical Command. Alter your course immediately or you will be fired upon. The raiders laughed over open comms. Their captain's translator made his contempt clear. You are medical personnel. You do not fire on anyone. We are claiming salvage rights on your cargo. Surrender now and we might let your crew live. Reeves looked at her weapons officer. Did we give them proper warning? Yes, ma'am. Full legal protocol, they were warned. Good. Reeves settled into her command chair. All ships, battle stations. Authorization code Reeves 77 Theta. Rules of engagement are weapons free. I want total disablement, not destruction. We may need to question survivors. Throughout the Nightingale, the medical staff continued their work while the ship transformed around them. The hospital sections sealed themselves behind emergency bulkheads. Life support systems switched to combat configuration. Weapons platforms that had been dormant powered up with humming menace. The Mercy and Florence took flanking positions. 3 medical ships moved with precision that would have impressed any military fleet. Their targeting computers locked onto the raider vessels with accuracy measured in centimeters. Gresh saw the weapons systems activating and felt his first moment of doubt. Those power readings cannot be correct. Medical ships do not carry that kind of firepower. His sensor operator voice shook. Captain, I am reading 16 missile tubes per ship, rail gun batteries, point defense networks, energy weapons rated for capital ship combat. These are not medical ships. These are dreadnoughts pretending to be medical ships. Impossible. Why would medical ships have military weapons? The answer came in fire and fury. The Nightingale launched first. 8 missiles streaked across the distance, their propulsion systems burning bright against the dark. The raider ships tried to evade, but they were designed for intimidating merchants, not fighting warships. The missiles struck with devastating precision, not at the crew sections, not at the life support, at the engine cores and weapon systems. Savage Prophet lost propulsion in 3 seconds. Her weapons went offline in 5. She tumbled through space, crippled but intact. The crew survived. That was intentional. The second raider ship tried to run. The Florence fired her rail guns. Solid tungsten slugs traveling at a fraction of light speed punched through the raiders' engines like they were made of paper. The ship went dark, drifting helplessly. The third raider made the mistake of firing back. Her plasma cannons managed 3 shots before the Mercy responded. Point defense systems shredded the incoming fire. Return fire was measured and precise. The raiders' bridge took a direct hit, not enough to destroy it, just enough to crack it open to vacuum and kill everyone inside. 90 seconds. The entire engagement took 90 seconds. 3 raider ships neutralized, their crews dead or surrendering. The human medical vessels had not even slowed down. Reeves opened a channel to the disabled ships. "This is Captain Reeves. Medical teams are en route to provide emergency care to your wounded. You will be taken into custody and held for trial on charges of attempted piracy. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." Down on the colony, Dr. Foster watched the battle data on his tactical display. The Torvin coordinator stood beside him, all 4 of his eyes wide with shock. "They destroyed them," the Torvin whispered. "Your medical ships just destroyed 3 raider vessels like it was routine." "It was routine," Neil said. "This is not even the first time this month. Pirates love targeting medical operations. They think doctors make easy victims." He returned to his patient, continuing his work without pause. "They keep learning that lesson the hard way." "But you are healers, you save lives." "Yes, we save the lives of our patients, the people under our care, the sick and the wounded who trust us to protect them." Neil adjusted his patient's medication drip. "Pirates are not our patients. They are threats to our patients. We handle threats efficiently." Rescue shuttles launched from the Nightingale toward the crippled raider ships. They carried medical teams in full combat armor, backed by armed security. They would save any injured raiders because that was their job, but they would do it at gunpoint. Ambassador Realm arrived at the medical facility an hour later. He looked at the peaceful hospital, the organized medical teams, the quiet efficiency of human care. Then he looked at the tactical display showing 3 destroyed raider ships. "Your species confuses me greatly," he told Neil. "You are simultaneously the most compassionate and most violent people I have encountered." Neil finished with his patient and turned to face the ambassador. "We are not confused at all. We understand exactly who we are. We are humans. We heal who we can. We protect who we must. And we destroy anyone who threatens those under our care. This is not contradiction. This is consistency." "Your medical ships are warships." "No," Neil corrected. "Our warships are medical vessels. There is a difference. A warship's purpose is destruction. Our purpose is protection. The weapons are just tools we use to fulfill that purpose. We did not come here to conquer. We came here to save lives, but we will kill anyone who tries to stop us from doing that." Realm thought about that for a long time. "The galaxy does not have words for what you are." "Then the galaxy should invent some," Neil said, returning to his work. The plague fought back with everything it had. It mutated. It adapted. It jumped species barriers that should have been impossible to cross. Human medical teams tracked each mutation with ruthless efficiency. Every time the virus changed, humans changed faster. Dr. Lisa Tran ran the research division aboard the Nightingale. Her laboratory looked like a fortress. Triple-sealed containment chambers, automated sterilization systems, backup power supplies that could run for 6 months. She studied the plague samples like a general studying enemy movements. "This virus is smart," she told her team during their daily briefing. "Not intelligent, but evolved for maximum transmission. It targets the exact proteins that most species use for cellular respiration. It spreads through air, water, and physical contact. It survives in vacuum for up to 6 hours. A young researcher named Tom looked worried. "If it mutates to affect humans, we are all at risk." "It will not." Lisa's certainty came from data, not hope. "Human respiratory chemistry is completely different. The virus would need to evolve an entirely new infection mechanism. That takes millions of years, not weeks." She pulled up genetic maps. "But we are not waiting around. We are designing a cure." The word cure made everyone look up. Most galactic species treated plague by managing symptoms and hopping for the best. Cures were theoretical, something you attempted after years of research. Humans had been in system for 3 weeks and were already talking about permanent solutions. Ambassador Realm visited the research lab later that day. He wore a full containment suit even though humans assured him the virus could not jump to their biology. Trust only went so far. Dr. Tran, the council received your report. You claim you can cure this plague completely. Lisa did not look up from her microscope. Not claim, will. We have identified the viral structure, mapped its reproduction mechanism, and isolated 3 different protein sequences we can target. We are currently testing 17 different treatment compounds. At least 3 show promising results. In 3 weeks, this plague has killed millions. Our best scientists have studied it for months with no progress. Now Lisa did look up. Her eyes were tired but determined. Your scientists tried to understand the virus. We are trying to kill it. Different approach, different results. She led Realm through the laboratory. Each station showed a different aspect of the research. Genetic sequencers broke down the virus code. Computer simulations tested thousands of treatment combinations. Synthesis machines built custom molecules designed to destroy specific viral proteins. Galactic medicine focuses on maintaining balance, Lisa explained. You try to support the body while it fights infection naturally. Human medicine is more direct. We identify the enemy, find its weakness, and hit it with overwhelming force. We do not wait for bodies to maybe win the fight. We end the fight ourselves. That sounds violent. Medicine is violence. Surgery cuts people open. Chemotherapy poisons cells. Radiation burns tissue. We hurt people to help them. The trick is being precise about what we damage. Lisa showed him a simulation. This compound bonds to the viral reproduction mechanism and rips it apart. The virus cannot copy itself. It dies. The patient lives. What about side effects? There are always side effects, but death is also a side effect we are trying to avoid. We run calculations. We test everything. We make the choice that saves the most people. The breakthrough came on day 27. Compound 17 worked. It completely stopped viral reproduction in 47 different species. It had manageable side effects. It could be mass-produced. Lisa sent the data to Captain Reeves with a simple message. We have a cure. Reeves immediately ordered production. The Nightingale's manufacturing facility had been building medical supplies since arrival. Now it shifted to producing cure compounds. The other 2 ships did the same. Within 6 hours, they had enough treatment doses for 10,000 patients. Within 3 days, they had enough for everyone in the quarantine zone. But distribution was its own challenge. The infected colonies were scattered across 12 systems. Transport ships refused to enter quarantine zones. The plague had created a medical desert where nobody would go and nothing could get through. We will have to deliver it ourselves, Captain Reeves told her senior staff. Each ship takes 4 systems. We establish field hospitals, treat everyone we can find, distribute cure supplies to local medical facilities. Her chief medical officer raised a concern. That spreads us thin. If another raider group attacks, we will not have mutual support. Reeves smiled coldly. Then they better bring more than 3 ships. The 3 human vessels split up for the first time since arrival. Each took a quarter of the infected zone and began the largest medical deployment in galactic history. They moved fast, treating thousands per day. The cure worked exactly as designed. Mortality rates dropped to near zero within hours of treatment. Neil Foster worked in a clinic on a mining station that had lost 60% of its population. Survivors lined up for treatment, many of them so weak they could barely stand. Human medical staff moved among them with practiced efficiency. Each patient got examined, treated, and sent to recovery. The process took less than 10 minutes per person. A young Torvan child approached Neil nervously. She held out a drawing she made with colored pencils someone gave her. It showed a human in armor standing between stick figures and something dark and scary. "Thank you for saving my mother," the child said quietly. Neil took the drawing carefully. He had a daughter back on Earth, about the same age. He thought about never seeing her again, dying light years from home, all for people he never met. Then he looked at this child's hopeful eyes and understood exactly why he was here. "You are welcome," he said simply. "Now go rest, you are safe now." The plague's back broke slowly, then all at once. Treatment centers on every infected world reported success. The virus tried to mutate, but humans adapted faster. Where the plague evolved new defenses, humans designed new weapons. It was a war fought with medicine instead of missiles, but it was still a war. And humanity had a lot of experience winning wars. Ambassador Realm watched the casualty reports finally start declining instead of climbing. For the first time in months, hope felt possible. He sent a message to the Galactic Council with a simple statement: "The humans are winning." 6 months after the first human ship arrived, Ambassador Realm stood in what used to be a mass grave. Now it was a memorial garden. Trees grew where bodies once rotted. Water flowed through channels carved by volunteers. Small stones marked the names of the dead, thousands of them, arranged in careful rows. A human sat on a bench nearby, not in armor, not in a medical suit, just regular clothes, looking tired and sad and human. Realm recognized Dr. Foster from the medical facility. "I thought you would be celebrating," Realm said, sitting beside him. "The plague is eradicated, you won." Neil kept staring at the memorial stones. "We saved 3 million people. We could not save the 2 million who died before we arrived. That does not feel like winning. You cannot blame yourselves for deaths that happened before you came." "I know, logically I know, but medicine is not logical. We see suffering and we want to stop it, all of it, every bit. When we cannot, it hurts." Neil finally looked at Realm. "Your species has practiced medicine for 10,000 years. Does that feeling ever go away?" Realm thought about his own losses, friends, family, patients he could not save despite his best efforts. "No, it does not, but maybe it should not. The day we stop hurting about death is the day we stop being healers." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Around them the garden grew, life returning to a place of death, the cycle continuing. "The council wants to give your fleet formal commendations," Realm said eventually. "There will be a ceremony, speeches, probably very boring." "Will there be food?" Knowing the council, terrible food. Neil laughed. It was a small laugh but genuine. "Then we will definitely attend." The ceremony took place on the council station 3 weeks later. Every major species sent representatives. News feeds broadcast it across 100 worlds. The chamber was packed with officials wearing ceremonial robes that looked uncomfortable. Captain Reeves and her command staff stood at attention in their dress uniforms. They looked military because they were military, but they wore medical insignia proudly. The Red Cross and Crescent had protected human medical personnel for centuries. Now those symbols meant something to the wider galaxy too. Council Chair Vorn gave a long speech about cooperation and gratitude. He talked about the human contribution in careful diplomatic language that said much while meaning little. Then he presented each ship captain with a medal representing the Council's highest civilian honor. "You came when no one else would," Vorn said, his voice carrying through the chamber. "You faced danger without hesitation. You saved millions of lives. The Galactic Council recognizes your extraordinary service and extends its deepest thanks." Captain Reeves accepted her medal with military precision. Then she did something unexpected. She asked to speak. "Council Chair, with respect, I would like to address a concern that has been raised repeatedly during our mission. Many species have expressed confusion about our methods. They question why medical vessels carry military weapons. They worry about the precedent we set. I would like to explain humanity's reasoning. Vorn looked uncomfortable but nodded. Please proceed. Reeves turned to face the assembled representatives. The galaxy asked for medics. We sent our best healers, but those healers come from a world where medicine learned hard lessons over thousands of years. On Earth, medical personnel were often targets. Hospitals were bombed. Doctors were murdered. Patients were killed in their beds. We decided long ago that this was unacceptable. She paused, letting that sink in. So we created a new philosophy. Those who dedicate themselves to saving lives must also be capable of protecting those lives. Our medical ships carry weapons because we refuse to let anyone threaten our patients. Ever. For any reason. When you ask humans to save people, you are asking us to protect them with everything we have. That includes our warships. A Korthan representative stood up. But you are healers. Violence contradicts your purpose. No, Reeves said firmly. Violence in service of protection supports our purpose. We do not seek conflict. We tried diplomacy with those raiders. We gave them chances to leave. They chose violence against the sick and wounded. We simply responded with superior violence. That is not contradiction. That is commitment. Relm watched the other delegates. Some looked convinced. Others looked troubled. All of them looked impressed. Another delegate asked, "What if other species adopt your model? What if everyone militarizes their medical services?" "Then the sick and wounded across the galaxy will be safer," Reeves replied. "We would welcome that outcome. Medicine should not be weak. Compassion should not mean vulnerability. If our example encourages others to better protect their own people, we consider that success." Vorn tried to regain control of the ceremony. "Thank you, Captain Reeves. Your perspective is noted. The Council will consider these matters carefully." But Reeves was not finished. "One more thing. We are returning to Earth next week, but we are leaving behind something important. Medical stations in each recovered system, staffed by volunteers from our fleet who want to stay, protected by automated defense platforms we are donating. Anyone who attacks these stations will find them much harder targets than they expect." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates protested, others applauded. Vorn banged his gavel repeatedly, trying to restore order. After the ceremony, Relm found Reeves in a side corridor. "You just told the entire council that you are militarizing humanitarian operations permanently. They will resist this." "I know, but I also know they will need us again. Next plague, next disaster, next crisis. And when they call, we will come, with our doctors, with our medicines, with our weapons, all of it, because that is who humans are." "You could have just accepted your medal quietly." Reeves smiled. "Dr. Foster told me about a child who drew a picture, a human standing between people and danger. That child understands what we are better than the Council does. We are shields. We are swords. We are both always, because protecting life sometimes requires taking it." Relm understood finally. Humans were not complicated. They were actually very simple. They decided what mattered and committed completely. No half measures. No hesitation. When they promised to help, they brought everything they had. "The galaxy is going to have to adjust to you people," Relm said. "The galaxy already is," Reeves replied. 6 new species have requested medical partnerships with Earth. 12 more want to buy our medical ship designs. Humans are changing how the galaxy thinks about medicine. We are just getting started. 2 years passed quickly in galactic terms. The plague became history, studied in medical schools across 100 worlds. The human medical stations remained, growing from temporary facilities into permanent institutions, and the galaxy learned to adjust. The Nightingale returned to the recovered systems for a follow-up inspection. Captain Reeves walked through a medical complex that had been bare ground when her people first arrived. Now it housed 2,000 beds, 6 surgical theaters, and research laboratories that collaborated with institutions across 3 sectors. The staff included humans, Torvens, Minari, even some Korthan who had finally overcome their initial reluctance. Dr. Nina Akafer ran this particular facility. She transferred from the Nightingale specifically to stay. When Reeves asked why, Nina just smiled and said some places needed her more than others. The integration has gone smoothly, Reeves asked, reviewing status reports. Mostly, some cultural differences took adjustment. The Torvens think we work too aggressively. We think they work too slowly. We compromise and patients get better care from both approaches. Nina gestured around the facility. This place saved 800 lives last month. Different diseases, different emergencies, but all of them treated successfully. The model works. They passed a training center where human instructors taught alien medical students. The curriculum covered everything from basic triage to combat medical protocols. Not every species needed the combat training, but enough did that it became standard. The Council approved the Galactic Medical Defense Initiative last month, Reeves mentioned, based entirely on our operational model. 12 species signed up immediately. They are building their own medical warships. Nina grinned. Good. The galaxy needs more people willing to protect the vulnerable. How is Earth responding to all this attention? Medical Command doubled in size. We are launching 6 new hospital ships next year. The demand for human medical partnerships exceeds our capacity to fulfill them. Reeves paused by a window overlooking the memorial garden. It had grown substantially. But we are being careful. Not everyone requesting our help actually wants help. Some just want our weapons technology. Can you blame them? Our ships are intimidating. They are supposed to be. Intimidation prevents conflicts. Better to look dangerous and be left alone than look weak and get attacked. Reeves turned back to Nina. But weapons without the philosophy behind them are just weapons. We do not want to arm species who will misuse them. The conversation was interrupted by alarms. Not emergency medical alarms, security alarms. Nina's expression went from friendly to focused instantly. What happened? Her second-in-command rushed over. Distress call from the Kelvin mining station. They are under attack. Raiders again. Different group than before. They are hitting the medical supplies specifically. Reeves checked her tactical display. The Nightingale was 2 hours away at maximum speed. Too far, but the medical complex had defenses donated by humans specifically for situations like this. Do you have ships? 3 medical transports, armed but not combat-rated. Launch them anyway. Transmit our standard warning. If the raiders ignore it, disable their ships. Reeves opened channels to her ship. Nightingale to all human vessels in sector. Medical facility under threat. Responding to render assistance. Nina coordinated the response with practiced efficiency. Her medical transports launched within minutes. They were smaller than the Nightingale, designed for patient evacuation rather than combat, but they carried enough firepower to handle typical raider groups. The raiders at Kelvin Station made the same mistake pirates always made. They saw medical ships and assumed easy targets. They were wrong. The human transports arrived and immediately established a defensive perimeter around the station. When the raiders opened fire, they got a response that destroyed 2 ships and crippled the third in under 30 seconds. Reeves monitored the engagement remotely. Clean work. No casualties on our side. None. Raiders are surrendering. Local security is taking them into custody. Nina looked relieved. 2 years ago, we would have been helpless. Now we can defend ourselves. That was always the goal. Teach the galaxy to protect its own healers. The Nightingale arrived 2 hours later to find the crisis already resolved. Reeves toured the Kelvin station, checking on patients and staff. Everyone was shaken but unharmed. The raiders had not even gotten close to the medical wards. A Kelvin administrator thanked her repeatedly. Your people saved us, again. Your people saved themselves, Reeves corrected. We just provided the tools and training. You did the actual work. But the administrator shook his head. You provided more than tools. You provided a philosophy, the belief that healers can be strong, that compassion does not require vulnerability, that protecting life is worth fighting for. These ideas are spreading. Reeves saw evidence of that everywhere. Medical facilities across the recovered sectors now had defensive capabilities, not just human stations, local institutions too. They built shields, they trained security staff, they established protocols for handling threats. The galaxy was learning. Back aboard the Nightingale, Reeves recorded her mission report. She summarized the follow-up inspection, the Raider incident, the continued success of the medical integration program. Then she added a personal note. 2 years ago, the Council asked for medical assistance. They wanted doctors and supplies. They got warships and warriors who happened to practice medicine. This confused them greatly, but confusion is becoming understanding. Species across the galaxy are adopting the human model. They are building their own medical defense systems. They are training their own medical warriors. They are learning what humanity learned long ago. She paused, choosing her words carefully. The lesson is simple. When you dedicate yourself to saving lives, you must also dedicate yourself to protecting them. These are not separate missions. They are the same mission. You cannot heal what you cannot defend. You cannot save who you cannot shield. Medicine and protection are one unified commitment. The galaxy wanted medics. We gave them something better. We gave them guardians, people who heal with one hand and fight with the other, people who understand that the truest compassion includes the willingness to use violence against those who threaten the innocent. This is not corruption of medical ideals. This is their ultimate expression. Reeves ended the report and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other crises were developing, other plagues spreading, other people suffering. And when the calls for help came, humanity would answer, with doctors, with medicine, with enough firepower to ensure those doctors could do their jobs safely. They wanted medics. They got exactly what they needed, even if they did not know it at the time. They got humans, and humans never did anything halfway.